Hi everyone, it's Sal Jade and I'm joining you live here in Tarot Card Success and Tarot Mastery to bring our live Q&A and our live monthly presentation in your course to help you improve your tarot skills. So if you are here joining me live, please pop in a hello and where you are, and I'm going to be working through some really powerful questions that have come up through the month on your Q&A board through your course and through this group. And I wanted to be able to answer those questions for you live, give you some more insight, because sometimes they're questions that might take me like half an hour to be able to explain them because they're quite in depth. And so being able to answer them live gives you the opportunity to really go deeper into the tarot around things that might not have occurred to you yet, especially if you haven't finished the course and you're still working through it and you're looking for new ways to improve your skills. Hello, April. Hello, Sonia. Hi, River. Lovely to see you from Chicago. So first of all, what we're going to cover today is I'm going to cover reversals and questions that have been asked about using reversals in the tarot. I'm going to be covering what happens when you get a tarot reading wrong. I'm going to also cover insurance and how to also best use this course, and I'm going to talk a bit about the travel cards. Now, if somewhere along the way you have a question that you'd like to ask, please pop it in, and when I've gone through all these questions, I'll answer it for you. Patricia from sunny Vancouver. That's good. It's not sunny here in Australia right now, so I'm feeling very envious. I hope you guys start getting a bit of warmth. Hello, Hannah from Michigan. Hello. Thanks, guys, so much for joining. So before I get started, I would just love to cover for everybody the latest kind of information for you if you have English as a second language, and that is all my courses. So boost your psychic gifts with EFT tapping, remove psychic blocks with past life therapy, build your spiritual business on a budget, my tarot mastery, all my intermediate courses that are on Udemy, they all now have subtitles and in English. So if you click on the CC in your lecture, then you'll get that option to choose that and they'll come up. So I've had someone professionally transcribe them because I wasn't, the quality of the ones that were offered weren't that great, and so I decided to get someone else to do them. Just for those of you who struggle a little bit with English, or even those of you who maybe are either hearing impaired, or if you feel like you learn better if you are listening as well as reading the transcript, because some people learn a lot better like that. So that option's now available on all my courses, except for my new Manifesting Abundance for Healers and Psychics one, that's coming up soon. That's going to be getting that one in the next few months. So just to let those of you know who are interested in the CC subtitles, you can now access them through your lectures. Now, and I also would just love to thank the very wonderful Tammy Sanders and Angela O'Neill, and I'm going to apologise in advance for not being able to pronounce this properly, but Maria Losafidi, it was a great last name, but I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it properly. Thank you so much for your beautiful reviews this month in Tarot Card Success. Thank you for taking the time to write them. I know that we're all really busy, and I love that you have taken some time to share your experiences with the people who are looking for courses on tarot. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So has anyone else joined me before I get stuck in? April. Oh, wonderful. You're interested in the travel card as well. Excellent. I'm gonna address that. You keep getting the Knight of Wands as a situation card for love readings, and you do that for yourself. Good. Keep that on the back burner. I'm going to answer that for you. Hello, Mary. Hello, Christina. Keep enjoying seeing all your dogs, Christina, seeing them on Facebook, your beautiful pups. Okay, so I'm going to get started with Veronica, which is right what Lisa's saying. So Veronica asked about the travel cards, and she said in the lecture on the Ace to the Five of Wands, I mentioned that the Ace of Wands and the Three of Wands are travel cards if they are often accompanied by other travel cards. And what does that mean? Now, first of all, like if you're asking a question about travel and those cards and the ones I'm about to mention come up, then that would be a very big confirmation of travel. But if you're asking a general or a job question and one of these cards come up and there's not, there's not multiple of other travel cards, then it's most likely that they're not about travel. So just keep that in mind. So the Ace of Wands can mean, Ace of Wands is anything about moving or changing your physical direction. So that can be moving house, that can be moving to a new job, it can be moving, even moving a department in your career, if that makes sense, or moving to another floor. So it's a physical movement. So that's why travel is often that card, but it's not always that card. So the cards that can represent travel are the Ace of Wands, as I mentioned, the Three of Wands, the Eight of Wands. The Eight of Wands particularly pertains to overseas travel, so that's quite linked to that. The Page of Swords, the Knights, generally all of the Knights, and again, but you want to have other travel cards backing that one up. And if say, for example, you do a 7-card spread and you pull travel and you pull a card, so say you pull the Knight of Wands. And so as April just said, she keeps pulling the Knight of Wands for herself. And so if you pull the Knight of Wands and you're like, oh, is that travel or is it something else? And you're not sure, then pull another card from the deck. And if that's one of those travel cards, then that's a confirmation that it's travel. So that's just an extra way you can do that if you're going, well, I don't see any other travel cards around it, but you're still kind of intuitively feeling that maybe this is about travel, then pull another card and see if you get a travel card. So other travel cards also include the World, and they also include Temperance can be a travel card as well. Again, that's another one of those major arcana ones that can be. And I've gone to all the swords. Yes, the Page of Swords, and also the Six of Swords is another travel card. Again, it's got the water, so it can be an overseas travel card, but the Six of Swords is also one as well. I think I've mentioned all those. So yeah, the Knight of Wands for me in particular can be quite a strong travel card if you're asking about travel. That's for me a big woo. Now, April says, I'll quickly actually, I'll answer most questions at the end, but while I'm on topic, she's tuned into something I was already going to talk about. April says she keeps getting the Knight of Wands as a situation for love readings. So I would suggest, which is great, I would suggest you need to be, you or your client or whoever you're reading for needs to, it means that around you either love's going to, so because it's not a person, like a person might mean it's an overseas person or someone you meet traveling, it might mean you need to be physically moving more. And it could be overseas or taking trips, or it could be changing, something in your job or something in where you live, or, just getting out about more, even just getting about and exercising more and trying new neighborhoods or things like that could be what needs to be more brought into your life for love. So the Knight of Wands is a situation is you need to actually be moving more forward and being a little bit more fiery and a bit more action-based when it comes to if it's your career or about love. So you need to kind of be putting yourself out there a lot more is what I would answer as that question, basically. So I hope that helps. Beautiful. So for Veronica, I'm so glad she asked this question, and thank you, April, for asking that question. What I also wanted to add, because and I understand, like, because of the way I've structured the course, that I get you to start practicing quite early with all of the minor arcana cards. And someone else recently asked about, should I ask, someone wants to ask this big decision and I've only learnt up to the cups. Should I do that? My answer would actually be no. I would say, if you've got a big decision to make, or someone wants to ask you a big decision and you've only learned one or two of the suits, so you've only learned the ace, like say the wands, you've only learned the cups, I would say please wait at least until you get all of the minor arcana, if not the whole deck, before asking the cards about serious decisions. Because it's a little bit like, if you imagine you went to a tarot reader and paid for a reading and you said to them, okay, I really want to know what I should do in my career. And they pulled out, 10 cards out of the whole 78 and put the rest aside. And then you kind of be looking at the other cards the whole time thinking, what's going on with those cards? Like, why can't we have those cards in? So it's, you really do need as much of the full picture as possible if we're talking serious life decisions. Like if it's something small that's not really that significant, then yes, great, absolutely practice. But that, again, I know I go on and on about Mr. Teddy, but that's why I love practicing with Mr. Teddy or imaginary clients, because then you're being more objective. You're not getting so attached. And if you get attached and you get a bit serious about the fortune telling potential of a question being answered with only the wands, then you're really, you're cutting out like 4/5 even more of the rest of the deck that could be giving you more information. So the wands could give you a little glimmer, but it won't necessarily answer everything that the person needs to know, the full puzzle. So that's why as you're working through the course, like learn the cards gently, incrementally. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to do really serious readings up front until you've got a good grasp of the minor arcana. And then again, as you bring the major arcana on top of it. Now, as I say with the courts, don't worry too much about mastering them too quickly. You can still do very good readings without them. So that's, I mean, other readers might disagree, but for me, getting the minor arcana fully under your belt first, with the suits, just get that under your belt first before thinking about more serious questions. So I hope that helps as well. For those of you who are still working through the course and you're a little bit confused about how deep you should go in using the cards in these early stages. So Tracy, and this is a great question too. So Tracy asked this a few days ago, and I really wanted to save it up for the live because it is such a great question. She did a reading for a neighbour, and the neighbour said, should I take this job? And all the cards looked good. And so Tracy said, look, yes, this looks fantastic. Neighbour scooted off and took the job, and it didn't work out. And now the neighbour's freaking out and wants to go back to her old job. Now, and thank you to everybody in the group who answered this question, because you guys are amazing. Like, you really gave it your all and you really answered the question amazingly. Like, I was so inspired by some of your beautiful answers, and so many of them were all true. Like, you were all saying, you know, like there is often a reason why we have to go and do some things that we have to go and do. And that might sound a little bit flaky from a prophetic, like from a predictive point of view, but you know, for me, the best way I answered it is when I got my job as a teacher working in the Catholic school, that was one of the best things that ever happened to me. And if I'd gone and seen a psychic and asked, and I got all positive cards and I trotted along, but the first year was absolute hell for me. Like, I went into a mild form of depression. I had insomnia. I wasn't sleeping. I was in fight or flight all the time. I was panicked. It really wasn't an easy experience for me. However, from that, I gained some of my very best friends in the whole world, and two of those women became my bridesmaids. I also learnt how to work with the angels because I went through such a hard time, and I learnt how to heal myself of that situation. And it just opened me up to just a totally different world. And obviously it taught me how to become a teacher, which is what I am now and is part of my calling in life. So it could be the cards are saying, yes, this is a great thing for you, but there might be some initial hardships with it. And I think a lot of people, when we start new jobs, it is always difficult because it's a whole new environment. It's something that's unfamiliar. We often can feel like we're being fed to the lions because we don't know our way around and we feel a bit vulnerable. So first of all, I would say, with your neighbour, to just go, look, it might, you know, just stick with it because there might be something here you need to learn, or there could be something down the track. Like, the cards have come up positive, so there could be something deeper and richer in here yet that just hasn't accessed with it. And the second thing I'd say, my love, is please don't try to feel responsible. I know that sounds strange because you're obviously the one who gave her the reading and she went off and made that choice. She did have free will, and you can say in those situations, and something I say that's a little bit more gentle is I say, look, if it's a big decision like that and they're putting their trust in you to get it right, then I would say, look, these are the cards you've got. If I got those cards, this is what I would do. So that way you're not saying you should do this and you have to do this. You're basically saying, look, sit with it for a while, see what you think. This is what I would do if I got a reading like this. And that way you're putting it in their court to go and make that decision. This is what the cards are saying. And again, that brings back the element of free will, and work on your own beautiful self-love and work on your own journey of knowing that sometimes you will, and I'm not going to say get it wrong, but sometimes you'll say things that won't straight away work out because the universe is a rich tapestry and there's so many different experiences. Like, nothing is ever really good or bad. And as we all know, some of our best situations in life have often come from a lot of, I guess, bad experiences. So please just reassure your neighbour that to just sit with it, take time. If she's worried, pull another card and see if there's what's the deeper spiritual lesson for her here, and before kind of rushing out and quitting that job and seeing if something might shift and change. Because someone could come in there who changes her life forever. Like, you know, you could meet your soulmate, or you could meet a best friend, or you could meet someone who gives you an idea that, you know, gives you the career of a lifetime. So please don't feel that you got it wrong. It's just that it said it was positive. So obviously the universe, the angels, the guides, they all wanted her to take that job. So allow that to be her path for a bit, and just help her sit in it for a little bit and have patience, is what I'd say. And the third thing I'd say, Tracy, and I go into this a lot more in my Psychic Readings Intermediate course on Udemy, I go into that a lot more about how to phrase questions so that those kind of things don't trip you up. And so if someone asks you, should I take this job? I would ask them to rephrase it as, what do I need to know about taking this job? Or what do I need to know if I take this job? Can you see that's a different question? Because then that would reveal perhaps there might be a bit of rocky road, but in the long run, it'll be good. Like, it gives the universe a lot more richness to talk about what could go on and what could go wrong and what could go right, and how to navigate that, basically. So that's what I would do from now on, is just, if someone says to you, should I do this? Go, let's gently say to them, look, that's a great question. Let's rephrase that. What do I need to know about doing this? And then that gives back the power to be able to see all of the richness that could be involved in the situation. So I hope that's helped, my love. And as I said, my heart goes out to you, because I know how scary that is when that happens to someone and you feel responsible. But there's many different layers about what could be going on there. Hold the space for her to work her way through it. See her as happy in her job, to work her way through that. Now, Bawana, thank you for your question on reversals. Now, and I'll go into a little bit, because as you know, those of you who are through the course or working through the course, I don't teach reversals in Tarot Card Success, because as a teacher, I believe that there's just too much to learn too quickly. So my best analogy is, it's a little bit like saying, I'm going to go and learn Spanish, but I'm also going to learn French at the same time, and expecting that you're going to be just as fluent in both languages. So I'm not a huge fan of reversals. However, I do teach them in my advanced 10-week tarot program, because by that stage, I feel like the students are strong enough in their understanding of upright cards that they're ready to tackle reversals. So that's why I don't do it in that course, because it's just too overwhelming to do it once. I get really strong and confident in all the other cards first, and then if you're really passionate about reversals and you find that you think they're really important, and I've mentioned this before, really only 50% of readers use reversals. Not all of them do. Some love it and say you have to. Some say it doesn't work for them. If you feel intuitively that they work for you and you really want to include them in your readings, then my best way of the quick kind of bumper bar way of saying it very quickly without going too in depth is to just remember that a reversed card just means the lesson of the previous card. And what I mean by the previous card is not the card that the person has pulled, but the previous card in the hierarchy of the deck. So if it's a 3, then it would be a 2. If it's a 7, it would be a 6. So the previous card that comes in the hierarchy, the lesson hasn't been learned. So they need to go back and learn the lesson of the previous card. That's what it means in most of the cases. Sometimes it means, like with the court cards, it's a bit different, but in most of the cases, that's what it means. Now, Bawana goes on to ask, well, what happens if there's 2 reverse cards? Well, that just simply means that there's 2 lessons that haven't been learned. And she also mentions, so yeah, that just means that they're both cards, whatever cards they are, say they're the 4 of Wands and the 6 of Swords, it just means the 5 of Swords and the 3 of Wands haven't been learnt. Now, what happens if, and it's a great question, she asks about the reversed cards, what if she keeps pulling them and pulling them and pulling them? Now, what I do in the 10-week advanced tarot program, and I'll share this with you guys now, how I deal my tarot decks is I actually, at the beginning of every single reading, I divide them into 3. So what I do is I shuffle them, and then I put them down, and I ask the questions. And then what I do is I break them into 3. So they don't have to be exactly even, but relatively even. And then what I do is I turn them over and I do a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I hope that makes sense. I'll say that again. I think I confused myself a bit there. So shuffle the deck, ask the question, stop. And then what you do, sorry, I don't break them into 3. I break them into 3 this way. I go, I tip each one over 1 and then 2 and then 3. 1, 2, 3. and I go through the entire deck like that in a pile of 3. So that's one way I do it. I often crack them into 3 as well for the client, but that's a way that I do it basically. So what I'll do is I will film myself doing this for you guys, and I'll throw it in as a bonus lecture. Okay, so it'll be at the end of your course, and I'll show you how I physically do it, because I'm not sure if my explanation was very good then. And then what I do, then I know that they're all upright, because if it's upside down, I'll put it upright and do it. But again, if you decide you want reversals, then you wouldn't do that system. You won't do the one that I do. So you just divide it into 3, and you manually go through each, you put it up and turn it upside, each one, to make sure they're all upright. Or an even quicker way is you can actually just spread them all out before the reading, and just when you're upside down, just write them. That's all you have to do. And that way you don't have to worry about it if you don't want to do reversals. So I hope that's helped, Moana. And as I said, I'll put that bonus lecture in at the very end. It'll be in your very bottom, to show you how I do that myself. Now, David asks about, he asked me to recommend a deck for money tarot or love tarot. I would suggest, David, because I know you're quite early in the course, I would suggest first to master what the tarot deck before you start thinking about separating them off. Like, there are specific decks that you can that are, that you can use for money and you can use for love, but all decks break down the money and the love and the general. So the way I've done it in the course, as most of you know, is that I've broken it down into those. So stick with either the Rider-Waite or whatever deck you've chosen for now, and don't worry too much about specifically doing that for now as you're getting good at it. David also asks a great question, and it's interesting. He asks this question about, can you be sued if you get it wrong? So if you do a reading for someone, can you be sued? The answer really essentially is it would be quite difficult to sue somebody for a wrong tarot reading. And I go into this a lot in Build Your Spiritual Business on a Budget. So if you're serious about running a business, I do suggest you either look at that or look at someone else's course that looks at the legalities of those things, because that's such a complex issue. It's way beyond the scope of this course. But generally, if you put on your website to protect yourself, and in all readings, this is for entertainment purposes only, then you're communicating that, like, you're not a legal advisor, you're not a financial advisor, you're not a medical advisor. That's what you legally need to do to protect yourself. Now, David also goes on to ask, do you need public liability? Again, that's better. That's a business question, so it is better looked at through looking at Build Your Spiritual Business on a Budget. That would answer that better for you. But briefly, if you're going into people's homes or people are coming into your homes, then yes, you would definitely need public liability insurance, because they could fall over and hurt themselves. That's any business you run. So just apply those principles to any business you run, and that would help a lot. And also keep in mind, legal advice, I'm not a legal advisor myself, and I know you live in the UK, David, and so I don't know the law about online readings in the UK. So just look into that yourself, and speak to a legal consultant there, and that might help you more. So I hope that has helped everybody today with those questions, and I hope that sort of inspired some of you to go in there and dig even deeper with the tarot. Let's see what questions. Can you use another deck for confirmation? Absolutely. Absolutely, Mary. As long as you've cleared it and done all the beautiful blessings and rituals, of course you can. Yes. And as long as you know the deck, absolutely. I do that all the time. I'm like, I love to mix it up with the decks. I get a little bit bored with the one deck. So yes, definitely. Mylene, hello. Kenny, you made it. Yay. Awesome. From Atlanta. Yes, Margaret says energy has a way of flowing in waves. Sometimes it's straight away, sometimes it takes a bit of time. That's very true. I'm assuming that's referring to Tracy's question about the feeling of getting it wrong. Like, yeah, sometimes things happen really good straight away. Sometimes there's a particular thing that needs to happen. It's a bit of a hangman experience, really. Like, sometimes we just need to let things happen to us. Not a fan of reversals either. Yes. Yeah, awesome. Power in the questions. Wonderful. Now, if anyone has any questions, please post them in now, and I can answer them for anything to do with your course or anything that you have challenges with the tarot. Post them in now. If you are not joining me live, then just put in #replay, and so I know that you're watching the replay, and then I can go in and answer them for you at a later date. Yeah. Hello, Darcy. Hello, Lisa. Wonderful. Okay, awesome. Christina says I do that too. Wonderful. Okay, so thank you everyone so much for joining me. I really hope this has helped you guys today in enriching your tarot experiences, and I hope you're feeling a little bit more confident. You've gotten some little magic gems out of it. As always, if you need any help with anything with your tarot course, please reach out and let me know. Thank you.